happy to share that I'm actually standing here and walking because it was one of those things that took me away from life overall. So the first thing that probably you didn't know, and I don't know if you've been following me for a little while, if you're my friend, you know that I was very active on social media, and all of a sudden I disappeared, and then I'm back again. But the reason is because I was working for a fabulous company, and you probably know it, and you've seen my posts, and you know, I've been traveling all over the world thanks to that amazing job with Virgin Atlantic. And one of the things that made it so special for me, it was not the traveling throughout, you know, different countries or continents. It was actually being part of an amazing structure that Sir Richard Branson had built. For those that don't know Richard Branson, he is an entrepreneur. He started the airline Virgin Atlantic from an incident, from him traveling to an island, and then they were stuck in that island, and he decided to rent a plane and then named it and offered tickets for, you know, passengers for $50 or pounds at that time, right? And then they flew back to the UK, and that became the airline. So it was just one idea, one incident, one circumstance that caused it. And what also makes it really intriguing and fun is that he has been supportive of a lot of the young entrepreneurs. He's a billionaire. His money has become one of the main sources for a lot of people to start businesses. So that was very inspiring to me. So when I was working for Virgin Atlantic, it was amazing to know that I was part of a cause, that I was part of something that went beyond just flying people around, right? It was something that was providing jobs, that was part of a bigger entity. So through that process, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about business, but I also learned a lot about your purpose and doing things with something that is actually meaningful to you, right? That it's something that is gonna matter when you're not here, that you're leaving a legacy, or that you're doing your best to help others. So while I was working and flying around the world, I remember this one time I had the opportunity to take to London my sister and my daughter, and we were walking through Piccadilly Circle. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's where the main areas, like the Times Square of UK, of London. There's lights everywhere, there's a lot of people, and it was just so much fun. But I didn't look where I was going, and I fell. And that fell had me, you know, a broken toe. I injured my back, but I didn't realize how severe it was until after, because I was determined that I was gonna finish that trip, that I was gonna go out and enjoy my job, because I was working while my daughter and my sister were accompanying me. But so I just made the best out of the moment, and I didn't pay attention to the injury, so I just kept going. And you know, days go by, weeks go by, and I started feeling a little weaker. I started feeling trouble walking, a lot of pain on my back, lots of pain. And for those that have back injuries, you know what back pain can be. Well, imagine that to like the highest level that you can ever have. It was very, very uncomfortable, painful. And as time went by, you know, my looks and everything, they were not suffering, because I was still wearing high heels. I was still like going out and presentations and walking. Even though it was difficult for me, I was still doing it. And one of the things that I learned from that experience is that you have to listen to your body, because I was so determined on accomplishing my goals and going for the business and whatever needed to happen, you know, for that particular time, or what we were doing as a business. I just wanted to keep being my best. And I didn't want my body to slow me down. But in that moment, I didn't realize that I have to listen to my body. We have to take care of ourselves in order to give our best to others or other things. So to make the story short, I was in so much pain that there was a moment where I just couldn't walk anymore. My body would shut down. I will like try to make a step, and I will just freeze because the pain was so unbearable. There were a couple of times that my sister had to literally call for help. I had to be taken in different transportation methods to move me around, because even though I wanted to keep going, I was not healthy enough. I was in so much pain that my body didn't allow it. And it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call because I learned that you can do and try everything in your head, and like I'm very mental and meditation and all that, but I realized that when it's time to take time off, it doesn't matter what you do. Your body, the circumstances, the universe, God, it just makes it happen. And in this circumstance, in this situation, my back was so bad that it was like, Gabby, enough, you have to stop. And I ended up just in bed. I couldn't walk anymore. That was last September. Last September. So I was in bed for most of the days. I would cry myself to sleep because there was no medication, no potion that would take the pain away. My kids would be laying by my side, just worried. That was one of the most hurtful things for me, is just seeing them worried about me. And me being such an active person, imagine, like I like to run, I like to exercise, and we used to go biking, and all of a sudden all of that stopped. I couldn't cook for them. I couldn't even shower. I couldn't take care of myself. I mean, going to the bathroom was like horrible. Just, that movement of like bending, I just couldn't do it. And that took a toll on me emotionally and physically too, because since you're not moving, you start gaining weight. And gaining weight was even worse, because I remember going to this place where I saw one of my neighbors, and she was like, hey, how are you doing? I see you walking with a cane. I was walking with a cane at that point because I couldn't walk by myself. My mom was with me, and I remember that I couldn't even, move like this to say hello or to see who was talking to me. And then there was a mirror right in front of me, and I realized like how big I was getting. I was like really big. I was gaining so much weight because I was not moving. And she's like, how's your back doing? Like one of the most important things is that you have to lose weight. And at that point, I wanted to throw my phone at her and be like, can you see this? I'm trying, but I don't know how to do that. And I remember just crying and crying and crying, and my mom was like, what is going on? And I said, I cannot do this. It's just one of the most important things for back injuries is not to be overweight, but how do you lose weight? Because I can do all the diets you want and starve myself, but your body has to move to burn those calories. How can I move? I cannot move. I don't feel one of my legs. I cannot twist my torso because it hurts. And how am I supposed to lose that weight? So it was that catch-22 where you're like, oh my goodness, should I, just cry myself to death? There were times that were really, really, really low. I couldn't work. People at work were just still, at that time we could travel. They were traveling. They were doing all these amazing things. And I'm in my bed, just, paralyzed because I couldn't do anything. So at that point, when I was so upset, so depressed, I said to myself, okay, you have two choices right now. And the first choice is you keep yourself gaining weight and crying yourself out, or you distract yourself mentally doing something that you love. And I started thinking of what was my passion, what has been one of the main things that keep me going. And I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started all sorts of businesses. I failed in a lot of businesses. And this time I said, you know what? I am going to do something that is meaningful, not only for me. I'm going to do something with the knowledge I have. And while I'm in bed, I'm going to distract myself helping other people start their own companies and, help them with branding and help them with whatever, like however I can with what I was doing. And at that point, I decided to create Brands with a Purpose. So while I was in bed, I was taking courses. I decided to go for this amazing course from Tony Robbins. And I started taking these trainings. And my husband will tell you, like, I would spend hours and hours and hours and nights and long nights just starting. And my brain was now focused not on the pain, but it was focused on my, knowledge and my business. So I took all these courses and trainings, and I was so excited. So I was no longer focusing on I cannot walk, I'm in pain, I'm on my bed for days and days. Now I have a purpose. Now I had something to look forward for, and that's how Brands with a Purpose became and came to life. So while I was going through these trainings, I realized that we have control of what we want on our lives to happen. And in this case, the choice that I made was to focus on the positive of what I could do at that moment, and not on the negative that was gonna just sink me and put me in a worse position. So the excitement of just starting to deal with people online, to start creating the brand, creating my website. I remember that I just sat on my bed and I had the laptop and I just started designing the website myself for hours and hours, and it just this vision that I had, and all of a sudden it became this big thing. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I went from like literally being depressed, crying, to super excited, and now I had something to look for every day that I woke up. There comes a point where I go to the doctors just to get checked, and they said to me, you are damaging your nerves so bad that you need to have surgery at this time. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna do it, let's just do it now. The people at the airline, they were so supportive. They still wanted me to come back, and they wanted me to be healthy, most and foremost. That I was very blessed to have every kind of support that you can imagine. So when I go to the doctors and obviously I'm in so much pain, I cannot walk now. The cane is not enough. My husband had to carry me most of the time. There was a time where the doctor says, like, we have an option. You need to have surgery, and this surgery is a very invasive, serious surgery, and you have to think if you really want to do this, because the options of coming through the other side in a good way, it's just you have just a 40% chance. You have 40% chance to walk again and have a normal life, or still remain with what is going on. And then what happened is that I fractured my sacrum, which is the very end bone that you have in your vertebrae, and it was also my vertebrae was not aligned, so it was pushing forward and pinching a disc, and the disc had ruptured, and then it was pinching a nerve. And that nerve, once was pinched, it was like, I don't know if you've ever seen like an elastic. The more you stress it, it just gets thinner and thinner and thinner. So the nerve was like pinched and getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So the information to the leg was not going. So that's why my leg was not, moving, because even though my brain was sending the signal, it was just not happening. So anyways, this big situation where I had to decide again, make another choice. Do you stay the way you are? Because the surgery also, it was so invasive that they had to open from the front and from the back. So they opened from the front, remove all your organs to get to your spine, and then fix whatever they have to fix. They put the organs back, close you up, turn you around, they flip you over, open you from the back, and fix whatever they have to fix. And on you go to, with your recovery. So it was, you have to think about the risks. You have to think about that, they may hit another nerve, a vein, whatever, and you can be now paralyzed. You have to think about, your health. I had to shower like 5 days prior with all these disinfectants and whatever, because the risk of infection is really high. So things that I never imagined I had to take into consideration. I was like, I had to make a decision. So my decision and my choices were either you have the surgery and you see what happens, and the second one is you stay the way you are and you see what happens, right? So while talking with my husband and my mom and trying to make a decision, we decided in conjunction that the surgery was the option, because I couldn't walk anyways. So I'm not walking, so what's the point of staying here? So I just decided to have the surgery. I go in. They told me that it was going to happen in March. This is at the beginning of this year. And for some reason they said like, no, Gabby, your situation is a little bit more delicate, so you have to go into surgery now. So I end up going to surgery right then in January. And thank God that happened, because see, the universe puts you in places, because then COVID started. So I go into surgery in January. They did indeed open all the front of my body, the back, and then I go into recovery. Kid you not, at the hospital the very next day, I was working. I had these big ideas about the company and Brands with a Purpose and how I'm gonna do things, and that's actually what kept me really inspired and going, and gave me the strength to do what I had to do physically to recover. I still have a very, very long journey to go. This recovery takes about 2 years, but I can tell you that the very next day that I had surgery, I was walking, which was very surprising. People would never do that. I had a caterer and I was like, take that off, I don't want it. I want to make sure that I can do things on my own. I was prepared to do the job, the work that took to recover. One of the most important things when you have back issues is to move. You have to move your body, because most of the time the pain just makes you just lay down, but that's even worse for your spine, right? You have to actually be moving. So I started doing whatever I had to do. My physical therapy got delayed because of COVID. So I had to do all the exercises on my own. My big sister in Mexico, she's a therapist, so she sent me some exercises. I looked online for exercises. So I would be working and exercising, trying to move, the way that I had to. But my point, and I don't want you to just take these as like, oh, Gabby was injured and she couldn't move. Like, no, I want you to see the choices that I had, and the choices that made me make a decision that changed my life forever. That's what matters. That's what was important to me. It was, I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna be I'm not gonna be a person that is gonna just lay down on a bed and be there forever. I wanted to be back with my kids. I wanted to continue to do my athletic life. I mean, like, I'm not a superstar, like an Olympic champion, of course, but I like to bike ride and I like to go for long walks and hiking. And I wanted to do that again with my kids. I wanted to be back and leave. And for sure, I wanted to give back to my community. I wanted to continue to create brands. I wanted to continue to see little things become something major. That was very inspiring for me. And that's what made me become a person with meaning, a person with purpose. So from an accident that could have taken a toll in a very, very different life format, I made it the best that I could. So I'm challenging you to see what options you have right now. If you are suffering, if you're going through something, right, that is creating pain in your life, listen to it. Find out what is it so you can fix it, but at the same time, make that choice. Decide if you're gonna stay in pain or if you're gonna do something about it, or if you can do something else that can take you away from that pain. That's something that you have under your control. If you're going through challenges that, whether they're physical or financial or emotional, you always have a choice. You have a choice to stay where you are, or you have the choice to begin something different, or you have the choice to cry forever, or you have the choice to do something with that and teach others how not to be in that dark place. In my case, I had the choice to cry and stay in bed and not walk forever, or I had the choice to take the risk and focus in something that I really wanted to do and put my mind into and go for it. And that saved my life, literally did. So Brands with a Purpose is not just a company that allows people to create brands and to start their businesses. It's actually my life savior. And it has a purpose, not just for me, but for others, which is to find your purpose when you're doing business, your purpose when you're founding a nonprofit organization, or your purpose when you're trying to start your coaching services. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you become that person that you want to become for your community, for the world, so you can leave that behind and know that you have a legacy. So I challenge you to look into your life, see that dark place where you've been, see where you have the options of making choices, and decide the positive one. Go for your dream. You can do it. I hope this story helps you in some ways, and I hope that you can follow our lives this December. We have lots going on, and I'm so blessed to be here with you, and so blessed to be walking and to have the opportunity to talk to you guys. I love you all, and I hope you enjoy your holidays. See you next time.